Roy, we're now on Windsor Road, once called Nye Road. Now, why would it be called Nye Road once upon a time?
For the good reason that this was Thomas Nye's land, so how can you possibly own land without having a street named after you? Later on, of course, as the place developed, it was given a name that was not associated with him, as we have here with Windsor. But this is truly Nye Road because just about every house that we can see here was built by Thomas Nye and his group.
You could almost say Thomas Nye slept here, though.
We could say that. We could say that. We are standing outside what I call the Cosgrove House. It was the house of Major Cosgrove, and Major Cosgrove came here when he joined the congregation of St. Martin's just up the road. His claim to fame as a member of this community was the fact that he was a district engineer twice, and that term only broken up by the First World War. He was an engineer, and of course he would join the illustrious 6th Field Regiment of Engineers that existed here in North Vancouver, and as such he went to war. Prior to that, when he was a lieutenant, for some unaccountable reason he couldn't seem to find any pretty girls around here, and he went off to Ireland, and he married Florence Ratcliffe, whose sister Emma and her mother came over to North Vancouver, and they lived at 250 24th Street East, as it was in those days. And Emma Ratcliffe, the sister, never married, and it's interesting that she had all the work done around her house by George Lewis, who, as you may remember, is a member of the Historical Society here and very much alive and well. But when John Cosgrove was in the army, he was responsible for writing a report on the disastrous bushfire which swept down onto Osborne and involved the Reverend John Sykes, who was at that time known to rush up onto the building that we have just seen, Chesterfield School, and tear the shakes off the top to save the building from burning down, so that we can see it today. Going back a little bit on that same fire, I should mention that whilst Reverend Sykes didn't get any awards when he was here, when he went to England during the Second World War, he was on the rescue party, and he gained the OBE in England. And when he was interviewed, he said that it was his experience working with the fire brigade over here in North Vancouver that psyched him into the idea of going up onto roofs and tearing off burning roof materials.
And this was the boy fire.
That's right, it was the same one. That's right. But anyway, John Robert Cosgrove, he did the study on that fire when he was living here. One of the things that we can remember him for is that the road called Travers in Vancouver is named after John's son, and there's also the road called Ratcliffe in Vancouver that was named after his in-laws. The thing that I like best about this Cosgrove situation is that nothing to do with John, apart from the fact that he was famous for building the bridge over the Seymour, just at Marine. The thing I like is his mother. When she was widowed, Mrs. Cosgrove decided not to give up, but to buy a house on Rockland, which was the northern extent of Thomas Nye's area. And up there she built a tea house, which was incredibly enterprising because at that particular point, that was the intersection of the trails from the northern terminal of the Capilano streetcar route, and it was also the northern terminal at the end of this road, Windsor, for the Lonsdale streetcar route. So the hikers and the skiers of the day all had to pass by Emma Cosgrove's house, and I'm sure that place must have been worth a fortune, but that's one widow who didn't go under.
We tend to forget, don't we, that there were streetcars going all the way up Lonsdale.
That's right, and the streetcars, of course, wherever the agreement was, that wherever the streetcars terminated, there would be a park built. And of course, the Lonsdale Park that we have up here, that we call Carisbrook Park, was one of those that matched this terminal at the end of this street. Now we're going next door to the last stop on our tour, Olga. We're going to 145 Windsor Road East. Here we are on 145 Windsor Road East, or as it was, Nye East, still on the district lot 2026 that was part of Thomas Nye's script. This one was called Lot 5, Block 22 in its day. And this one was actually built by Thomas Nye, and it was ready for occupancy on February the 26th of 1909. The present owners have done a marvellous job of restoring this house to the way it was. And really the only difference that one can see at this time is that it is no longer has a rock basement, which was a feature of the Thomas Nye homes, and the double hung windows, that is to say the sash windows, are no longer there, but they did exist on the previous home that we saw at 155. We don't know who the house was built for at that time. It was merely up for sale on that date. But this one in the 1920s was owned by Mr. McGuinness, who was the assistant manager of the Old Bank of Montreal, which you know is located down on the southwest corner of Lonsdale and Esplanade. I think that this home is typical of most of those that we've seen, in the respect that even though it is not actually legislated for, everybody is obviously very proud of the heritage of their homes. And though it's interesting that very few of them know the history, they all seem to have some sense that they have something that is a gem within their grasp, and they're doing a very fine job of it in each and every case.
Well, Roy, there must be many other homes as well here in North Lonsdale, but I guess we just don't have time to go and take a look at them all. But this is certainly a very fine example at which to end our show. This has been Olga Ruskin, Pioneers and Neighbours, talking to Roy Pallant on a walking tour of historic North Lonsdale.